So it's been a year since the iPhone 15 came out, and when I first reviewed the phone, I had mixed feelings about it. To me, it seemed like a watered-down version of the iPhone 14 Pro, and in my 6-month review I said that it would be better to buy the iPhone 14 Pro over the iPhone 15 because it was the same price, but it was a much better phone. Now, another 6 months have passed, and has my opinion changed? Let's find out. I could sit here and talk to you about how the design has held up pretty well, but I'm not going to do that. We all know this design. Samsung knows this design. Nothing. Pixel. You get the idea. By the way, I don't like cases, and I do use my phones without one. But this is not my phone, it's my girlfriend's phone, and she, under my bad influence that is, used it without a case too. Most of the time. And it held up pretty well. There's no scuffs or scratches, this phone has never seen a screen protector, and my girlfriend has long nails, so I can simply say that the build quality and durability are great. Not as good as a Pro iPhone. Do you see where I'm going with this? But it's still good enough to be used without a case. My iPhone 14 Pro, which I will be making a video about by the way, so subscribe so you don't miss that, has also been used without a case and a screen protector for 2 years. I got it on the launch day, but because it's made of stainless steel, it has survived quite a few falls actually, more than I'd like to admit. If it were made of aluminium though, like the 15 is, the frame would have been bent for sure. Although me, personally, it's too pretty to be hidden behind a case, so I still wouldn't use one. The CPU and the RAM are from the 14 Pro. So if you bought the 15 thinking that the 14 Pro wouldn't be getting any new features, well, the new one isn't getting any features either. It's just as fast or slow as the 14 Pro, depending how you want to look at it. There is literally no performance difference. It's not going to get an extra year of iOS updates, it's not going to hold its performance for longer, the battery degrades just as fast, and it's not even getting new features with the upcoming iOS 18. Neither does the 14 Pro, but at least it has a 120Hz display. Battery is also not any better, if not worse to be honest, despite being a little bit bigger than the 14 Pro. Because it's constantly running at 60Hz, whereas the 14 Pro, it has an LTPO display and it can go all the way down to 1Hz if needed. So if you're watching a YouTube video, let's say, the 14 Pro will adjust the frame rate of the display to the frame rate of the video, whereas the 15 will always update at 60Hz per second no matter what frame rate the video you're watching is. And there's also no always on display, which the 14 Pro has. So when it comes to the battery, performance, or software, there is literally no difference between these phones, which is, I have to say, kind of disappointing. But where there is a difference is the camera department. Let's quickly go over the advantages that the 15 has over the 14 Pro when it comes to the camera, because there are some significant ones. The 15 has next-gen portraits, which is better at detecting edges and thin flyaways, but what it also does is it automatically applies portrait mode whenever it detects a human or a pet. It also allows you to shoot in portrait mode just by tapping to focus, so you no longer have to decide whether you want to shoot in portrait or in the default mode. Your pictures will always have the metadata to activate portrait mode retroactively because the iPhone is always capturing it. This is a really great feature, but what's the best thing about it is it also shoots portrait mode at 24 megapixel, whereas the 14 Pro can only do so in 12. And that's despite having a 48 megapixel sensor, which is, by the way, also bigger than on the 15. It's just a software limitation to make the 15 look better than the 14 Pro, but nevertheless, there's no way around it. You could, of course, take the 48 megapixel picture, import them into Lightroom or any app of that kind, and add fake blur to the picture, but it won't have depth data, so it will never look as good as the built-in portrait mode. So if you take a lot of portraits, the 15 is definitely a great choice for you. Sadly though, this is the only real advantage over the 14 Pro. The 14 Pro has much more to offer. It has a telephoto camera, it can shoot in ProRes and ProRAW if you want to. It has macro mode, it has night mode portrait because of a LiDAR sensor, and it has better stabilization on the main camera. The 14 Pro is much better suited for actually taking professional looking photos. You could argue that the 15 has a USB-C port, which would make professional work easier, but it's limited to the same speed as the Lightning port on the 14 Pro because only the 15 Pro got the USB-C speeds. So despite having some advantages in the portrait mode, it still loses in comparison to the 14 Pro. The only scenario where the iPhone 15 would win is daytime portraits because it has better HDR and it also shoots in 24 megapixels instead of 12. Nevertheless, I still can recommend the 15 when it comes to the camera, unless you're a casual user who doesn't care about all the tech stuff like ProRAW or ProRes and whatnot. However, if you're interested in taking the best pictures possible, the 14 Pro will be better 9 times out of 10. Let's talk about the price. When the 15 launched, it was nearly the same price as the 14 Pro on the used market. This was also the case half a year ago when I made the 6 months review of the iPhone 15. So now, a year later, the 14 Pro costs about 300 euros more on the used market than the currently selling iPhone 15. And the fact that the 15 didn't get Apple Intelligence isn't helping it much either. iPhone 15 is the fastest obsolescing iPhone ever since the iPhone 5C, if anyone remembers that. I also asked my girlfriend what she likes and dislikes about the phone and why she chose it over the 14 Pro, and I kid you not, the only reason she bought the 15 was just because it was pink. That really is all the iPhone 15 has going for it. So should you buy it? Half a year ago, I would have definitely told you not to. But seeing how the prices have changed, if you find a really great deal on the used market, go for it. But please don't buy it new or on contract. And by the way, I just made a video about what to look for when buying a used iPhone, so definitely go and watch that before buying anything off the used market. But if you really want value, the 14 Pro is a much better choice, and I will be doing a 2-year review of the iPhone 14 Pro very soon. Overall, the iPhone 15 has some advantages in the camera department, it has fancier colors if you value that, and it has a lower price. It is after all newer, so you might find cleaner examples on the used market. It is very good at doing the basics, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad phone. It's just not as good as it should have been, let's put it that way. But if you're getting it on the used market for an unholy deal, it's gonna be a great phone. I'd still insist on looking for a 14 Pro, compare the prices in your location. Just don't buy refurbished unless you're buying straight from Apple. If you have an iPhone 15 or you're looking to buy one, share your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.